Morning, church. How you doing? Doing good? It's a glorious day outside, would you agree? It's a glorious day inside as well, and so glad that you've joined us on this significant Sunday, as Pastor Kerry has mentioned, Volunteer Sunday, but also Pentecost Sunday as well. We're a Pentecostal church, and we're unashamed about that as well. Hey, before we go one step further, I do want to just let you know about two things. The first thing is, given today's occasion, we thought, you know what other excuse do we need but to give free Krispy Kreme donuts out to the whole church? And so straight after the service, there'll be some Krispy Kreme donuts there, all COVID-safe sanitized bags for you. If you're gluten-free, we do have some of those available for you at the coffee bar as well. Other thing I want to let you know, Friday night there was a function at the Empire Theatre, and one of our very own pastors and also Civic Assist employees, Pastor Jenny Alchin, was in attendance, and she was nominated for an award for creating safer communities in the area of health. An organisation called Toowoomba Together Incorporated, who this church is very well connected with. And I'm pleased to announce that Pastor Jenny was a winner of that award. So huge round of applause. And so if you're looking for an autograph, Jen will be out in the foyer signing whatever you like. It'll be worth $1 million in about 10 years' time. But we're so grateful for people like Jenny, who really has got on the front foot of that and led a great team of Civic Assist volunteers and creating safer communities. I just think that's a great calling of the church. Would you agree? Today is Volunteer Sunday, and we have got an all-star cast lined up here. I feel like it's the Avengers behind me. They've assembled, they're ready to go, and we're going to have a chat with them in just a moment. But before we do that, we're going to give you a bit of an insight into the life of a volunteer. Let's have a look at that media. Today really is all about discovering the heart of a volunteer, and this is part of National Volunteer Week, which is a national recognition of all volunteers, not just in churches or non-for-profit organisations, but right across the nation, recognising the heart of a volunteer. And that's what we really want to unpack in the next sort of 15, 20 minutes. We'll attempt to do anyway. And we've got 6 amazing individuals up here. And I thought it would be good. The reason why we went with 6, I mean, we could have just got 1 or 2, but I think it's important that as a church and how we are structured as an organisation, the width and the breadth of our volunteers and teams, not just on Sundays, but right throughout the week, from the 3 a.m. SMP crews to volunteering over at Yakana. We really needed 6 to capture, I guess, the width and the breadth of what our volunteers are involved with. And so I thought it would be good to kick things off if we could just quickly skim across the panel here. Just tell us how you got involved with volunteering, where you volunteer. Maybe your name would be a good start as well, and then we can kick it off. So we might start on the end there.
I'm Kate, and I mainly volunteer with Project Madagascar. Yep.
How long have you been doing that, Kate?
Oh, I think 4 or 5 years. Not sure, can't remember, but yeah, something like that.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Hello.
Hi, Jeff.
I'm currently volunteering with the music team. I probably started volunteering in music ministry sometime around the mid-80s.
Wow.
But other volunteering, I remember going from around probably in the 70s.
Wow.
As a little fella.
What was the fashion like in the mid-80s with the music team, Jeff? Can you...
Oh, it was amazing. It was amazing.
Yeah, awesome.
My name's Jordan. I'm a teen crew at Civic Youth. I've been doing it for about 2 years.
And finishing your final year of high school this year, is that correct?
Yes.
Well done.
Hi everyone, I'm Lisa and I volunteer up in Civic Kids and primarily Cubby House, so the cute little tackers. And I've probably been doing that since our family came in about 2016.
Wow, yeah, awesome.
Hi, I'm Liz. I started volunteering in this particular church for about 23 years ago. Simple things like handing out communion, taking up the offering. Then I was employed here in the church and I looked after Sunday teams and all that back then. Moved into volunteering in Kids Church and I'm now working in Yakana and I'm the volunteers manager over there.
Awesome. 23 years ago, you mentioned collecting the offering. That's when we had the Koijaroi bags. Do you remember them? With the wooden handles?
And
they were Shekinah glory back then, people, let me tell you.
The big brass communion things.
Yes, yeah, that's right, yeah.
G'day, I'm Gareth. I volunteer for the Civic Assist Street Crew, SNP.
Awesome.
So 3 a.m. crew.
How long have you been doing that, Gareth?
I've probably been doing it about a year and a half.
Yeah.
Now, including COVID. But no, the way I got involved is I was out on a night out.
Yep.
That sort of thing. And this was when I was 18 or so. And I saw this crew and I was like, this is great. They're doing a really good job, making sure everyone's okay and all that sort of thing. And I love that.
Yeah.
I think it's just one of those things where you're just like, I want to be a part of it.
Yeah.
Now, in saying that, it took me a couple of years to get involved.
Yeah.
I had my social life for a little bit.
Yeah.
And then basically I got past that stage and I said, now's the time to join.
Very cool. It's also Gareth's first time in a civic service. Can we make him feel welcome? I think for him to get up on the stage this morning is a really, really courageous thing. So we're so glad that you can join us, Gareth. Often what we talk about when it comes to volunteering and, when people first get involved, we often say, and our senior pastor often says that the why is always more important than the what. Why you do it is more important than what you're doing. And I guess the fundamental question that I often ask volunteers in any of the teams is, why do you do it? Like, what's your motivation? What's your motivation for hanging out with people who are probably quite intoxicated at 3 a.m.? What's your motivation for hanging out with the little tackers? For getting up early, Jeff, and being there for music rehearsals? For hanging out with teens? What's your motivation? Who wants to kick things off? What's your why? Talk to me.
Okay, well, I'll start. I think for me, it was just a very natural progression as a mum. You really enjoy a service that you can pay attention to. And I think coming here and seeing that there was a team that were willing to invest in my kids, and so that I could be a part of this, I was very grateful for.
Yep.
And so then I just naturally wanted to return that favour.
Yep.
Also a really great connection point. It's really good to be able to, I guess, it breaks down those walls of connection with somebody new, because you're there welcoming them into the cubby house, and you're meeting their family, and that's a really great place to sort of, I guess just be that first connection point and chatting and making connection and conversation.
Yeah, great.
But also, I get to play with 2-year-olds who think I'm really funny, and I like that.
Yeah. Very cool.
I guess for me, when I started with Civic, Teen Crew, it was more of the fact that I had the ability to have youth leaders feed into me in my life. So I had that small ability to feed into the younger generation.
Yep.
And so as I saw teenagers come in on a Friday night, being that person that greets them, welcomes them, makes them so happy to be there.
Yeah. Love that. Gareth, what about you? What's your why, mate?
I would say my why would be that basically, obviously I love helping people.
Yeah.
I'm probably fairly big in the community, I suppose, in a retrospect of helping charities and that sort of thing.
Yeah.
It's kind of what I do in my free time.
Yeah.
I would say I joined because I love helping people, but it's also the why in professional development side as well.
Yep.
For me, so before Safe Night Precinct, I was talking to someone before, and I said I never would have talked to someone straight off the bat on the street.
Yeah.
So at the same time, it's given me an advantage in my personal life.
It's grown you. Yeah.
To just go up and start talking to people.
Yeah, love that.
Which is great. But seeing when you get to the point where people are passed out on the ground and that sort of thing, you realise that people need help.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
They really do. Especially when they're very intoxicated or they're on drugs or whatever.
Yeah.
They need someone there to hold their hand if they're in trouble.
Yeah, very cool. What I love about, Lisa, you mentioned, and so did you, Jordan, is that you, received something and then you wanted to give back. And by its nature, volunteering is very other-centred. It's always about serving others. It's always about serving the community. And the tricky thing with that is that we live in a culture and we live in a society that is often promoting, no, it's all about you. It's all about what you can get. And very rarely do we hear the message. Very rarely do we hear this understanding of, no, it's about serving others. And, Jesus would probably be the ultimate example for a volunteer. Here we have God, the King of Kings and the Lord of Lords. And in Mark chapter 10, it says that he didn't come to be served, but came to serve. And so he's our ultimate example, when we talk about volunteering. He was entitled to be served, but he said, no, I'm going to serve others. How do you guys, contest that? And how do you guys maintain that posture and stance when society and culture says it's all about you, it's all about what you can get out of life, go live your dreams, whereas volunteering is more about, I actually want to help other people. I actually want to promote other people's dreams and take my eyes off myself. How do you guys navigate the two cultures clashing about others and me? What do you think, Kate?
My answer to that last question was, I think we're blessed to be a blessing. So very much it goes into this question. And we can get very insular and focused on our own lives, and our sometimes very minor problems can get exploded into big ones when we're just looking at us. And I do agree that volunteering opens up your worldview and it broadens your perspective. It actually realigns your thoughts on your situation to go, my problems probably aren't that significant compared to what else is going on around us. So in many ways, volunteering is very healthy for your own life because it does take your eyes off your own situation to look at others and help others. That does have rewards for you as well, I think. So, yeah.
And being involved with Project Madagascar, For those that aren't aware, that project is centred around educating the younger generation in the country of Madagascar. You've been to Madagascar, and I guess having boots on the ground there and seeing that in a very tangible way, did that, I guess, even add more weight to the volunteering? Because often, we talk about the Madagascar executive, and often you're just meeting in rooms here in Australia, but then to actually be in the schools and see the faces and see the teachers, it would have added a whole lot more weight to it.
Absolutely changed your whole understanding on it, I think, until you actually see with your own eyes and all your senses, feel it, smell it, everything. Yeah. Sitting in a room in a meeting doesn't really touch on you just don't grasp it, yeah. I think. And when you do go, it is quite life-changing. I think you do come back. You can't come back and go back into life the same way. You do have a broader understanding of actually how privileged we are. Yeah. Even with some of our problems that we face, they're really not much.
First world
problems, yeah. Very vastly different to third world problems. Yeah. Very life-changing, very worth doing. Not easy, but, certainly rewarding. And, it was... if anyone can do it, I highly recommend, getting along on one of the trips.
Jeff, can I ask, with volunteering in the creative space, particularly on platform, I always think there's a bit of a paradox with people that serve on the creative team, particularly under lights, because you're not doing it to be a rock star. And there's this paradox that exists that I want you to look at me, but then almost look through me because I'm pointing to God. And, a lot of our worship leaders and a lot of our band do that very well, where they, find themselves in a place where people are looking at them, but it's not about Jeff Kieski. It's not about, Sam Ballariza on the drums. It's about look at me, but then look to God, because we're leading you into a place of worship. How do you find, you've been involved for decades. How have you, I guess, somewhat battled that of, well, it's not about me. It's actually about God, and I'm doing this to serve him, and I'm doing this to serve the church?
I think it's one of those sad situations where we have to retrain ourselves to think it's not about us. That's been the cultural push. Yeah. And look, to be honest, there's always moments where, you get, yes, I've got my moment in the spotlight.
That bass solo.
That bass solo, when that...
Or the saxophone solo, Jeff.
Look, I've done some amazing saxophone solos. I've also done some where I've walked off the stage. But I think one of the things that it is that, and it's a culture that we've got here, that we promote, it's not about having a team of champions. Yep. It's about a champion team. Great. So none of what we do is for us to shine. Yeah. We're trying to make, the entire presence, shine. Yeah. We want to see that, what we bring moves everybody else, that, they can feel, that presence of God. Yeah. One of the groups I played with years ago, it was like, the way we approached it was, well, if we can't feel it first, how are we ever going to, pass on or extend that worship experience to everybody else? Yeah. And so it's a very deliberate focus. Yeah. That it doesn't happen just by accident. There is intention behind it.
100%. Yeah. Liz, can I highlight your volunteer manager over at Yakana, the retirement village? And obviously, we've all had to navigate the restrictions last year and somewhat still having to navigate that. That provided, I guess, the best word to say is a lot of obstacles for you guys with volunteers coming in. How did you guys navigate that, knowing that, we have these amazing residents that people were coming in to serve them and connecting with them, but when COVID sort of hit, we had to really scale that back. How did you sort of navigate that as volunteer manager to keep your residents, I guess, all good? And then coming out of that, have you started to see the volunteers come back into the team and serving?
Well, under the aged care directive, which we had to follow during COVID, we weren't allowed volunteers in there at all. And that was tricky because they'd been doing lots of just little things, like it wouldn't be something you just looked at and went, wow, they do this or they do that. Just those consistent little things that make such a difference in people's lives. I'd say it's where the whole team pulled together. The staff at Yakana are amazing.
Yeah.
Every single area, all the staff just did something more. By the end of that lockdown period, the staff were well and truly wrung out. The care team, how much they just had to step up and stretch. There's a lot of fear, I guess, across the teams as well, not knowing what's going to happen, seeing what was happening in other aged cares.
Yeah.
Even in Australia, although we've been incredibly blessed as far as the pandemic goes. So yeah, I was just every single staff member just giving that little bit extra on the extra they were already giving just to fill in those gaps.
Yeah. Liz has downplayed that big time. Can we just take a moment and acknowledge all our Yakana staff care team right now? A lot of us, when restrictions started to ease, a lot of us started to, I guess, get our freedom back. But a lot of our residents had to navigate that. And our care team, support team, everyone at Yakana, I mean, I was back from a distance across the road, but I saw these guys and what they had to work through was just absolutely incredible. And how they cared for our residents and how they navigated that season is absolutely amazing. So she's downplayed it and said we've all just, had to chip in. It was more than just chipping in. They rose to the occasion and went above and beyond so that our residents were safe and well cared for. So well done to you, your team. Absolutely amazing, Liz. I once heard this quote when it came to volunteering, and it says this: it's not that I have to, it's I get to. Not that I have to, but I get to. And it really speaks to, I guess, this privilege and this honour that comes with volunteering. And I think in a lot of ways, sometimes when we're asking people to volunteer, we can often get into this place where we're begging people to volunteer, and it almost downplays the role that people play. What are your thoughts when it comes to this idea of you wake up, maybe it's a weekend for you, Gareth, or it's a Project Madagascar meeting, or it's a Friday night for you, Jordan. This idea of, if I have to, no, it's I get to. I get to play a part. I get to serve. I get to be part of someone's journey. I get to help someone. When you hear that statement, what does that do for you when we think of volunteering and the heart of volunteering?
It's a big one about your attitude.
Yeah.
'Cause I was thinking about this one during the week, and it's like, and most parents will relate to this, but your kids will always say, I get to go to McDonald's.
Yeah.
Whereas the parents are going to be, I have to go to McDonald's.
Yeah.
And it's about that attitude.
Yeah.
And when you shift that, one brings excitement,
yeah,
one not so much.
Yeah. Yeah, I love that. Yeah.
And I very much agree with that statement. It is about an attitude. Really, you have this mindset, I suppose, that kind of makes a positive, positive.
Yep.
To it. It really just kind of, you come out and you get up and say, I really get to go. I really want to be part of someone's journey.
Yep.
I really want to help them. If they've got issues, whatever they have, you can put them in the right direction for that sort of thing.
Yeah,
so
great.
It's really a good thing.
Yeah, attitude shift. Yeah.
It can be a good motivator too, because life's busy and full, and sometimes you're very easy in your own headspace. Human beings, we're like, I could do without this, or I could do this and this in this time. But when you think of it in those terms, it can change your attitude and it motivates you so that no, this is a priority. I'm privileged to be able to do this.
Yeah.
I want to do this, and it just helps you to clear the cobwebs of all the other stuff that's can get a bit full in your head there.
Yeah.
And it helps drive you, I think, to do what you are called to be involved in at that time. So.
Yeah. Yeah.
And in the younger years and that, it was always that understanding of you have to with the volunteering and that. So I think when I first started volunteering, I was about grade 8.
Yeah.
And I had grade 1s and 2s on my own and in Sunday school. And yeah, there was very much a lot of pressure on that.
Yeah.
Whereas now when I get to do it, I can see it about the people. And once you see the person or the people or the group rather than the task,
Great.
it just makes such a difference when you're seeing what you can do for somebody else. in Yakana in aged care, up at the kids' church and that. I used to get to do nursery here with the babies, and I would have loved, when my kids were little, I would have loved to have had someone take my baby for me for a while so I could just sit and chill.
Yeah.
So when you get to see that difference, so you've got to stop looking at the task, stop looking at what you're doing, and actually look at the people.
Yeah.
And it makes all the difference.
Yeah. Yeah.
And what Liz said with the people, I think Kerry said it before about belonging. We belong, and for me, this church has always been like family. It's a place that I belong, and I think that when you look at it that way, it's actually about these are my people.
Yep.
So I get to help my people, and that makes it, like Liz said, it's not a task, and it's kind of just something that we get to do as serving family and connecting and I just really wanted to share. Whenever we do anything God's way, He's always got this sort of awesome blessing for us in it, and you get joy out of volunteering. Kind of seems almost selfish. I get joy out of volunteering, but you do. There's a sense of joy of I've given something to a cause bigger than myself.
Yeah,
so
love that.
Belonging and people.
A couple of years ago, we did a Sunday series called The Wall, and really the idea behind that series came out of the book of Nehemiah, and about Nehemiah rebuilding the wall around the city of Israel. And Nehemiah was basically directing people, gave them certain roles, jobs and functions to help rebuild this wall. Some would sweep away the rubble, some would lay the bricks, some would prepare food, whatever it is. And again, here's another quote for you, which I'm interested to hear you say, your comments on. It's not what's good for me, but it's what's good for the house. We could branch that out with Civic Assist there for you, Gareth, if that helps. But it's not what's good for me, but it's what's good for the house. In other words, if there's an area where perhaps we don't have many volunteers, or there's an area in the church where we need some more resources, we need some more help, it wouldn't be my first pick, but if that's what's good for the house, that's where I need to be. What are your thoughts on that statement? Because again, I think it really does speak to, but I really want to play the saxophone. Yeah, but I really want to serve with kids, and I don't really want to make sandwiches. I don't want to make coffees. So how do you guys, when you hear that statement, do you I'm not too sure about that?
It's just, again, these are my people. So you step in where the need is.
Yeah.
It's about that. See a need and help it out. Do you know what I mean? So it's not, you're not serving because I'm good at this and this is what I bring to the table. It's about where's the need? These are my peeps. Let me step in.
Love that. Yeah.
I didn't know you were going to mention the wall, but I did bring.
Look at that.
I did bring my part of the wall.
What a guy.
And I was never sure at the time whether that meant I was destined to one day have a 4-string green bass.
It's a prophetic word, Jeff.
Yep.
Receive it, brother.
But it's like, you go where the need is.
Yeah.
And so I said, I remember when I was a little fella, I started with a tea towel, drying up the communion glasses because you had real glass ones and you had to wash them, and and that was part of the thing that you served where the need was.
Yeah.
At one point, I was part of the horn section here, but then we needed a bass player.
Yeah.
So, you fit into where you be flexible.
Yeah. Yeah. Love it. Last question I want to ask you is, Galatians chapter 6, verse 9 says, do not grow weary in doing good. There's no doubt that volunteering costs something. It doesn't usually cost you money, but it will cost you time. And generally, depending on where you serve and how many teams you serve on, sometimes it can cost a lot of time. I think it's important, and I think this church does it really, really well, if I can say that, where we have a volunteers pastor as Kerry, and she works overtime to ensure that all our volunteers are cared for, because I think sadly, the church, speaking generally, can sometimes use and abuse people and just say, hey, we just need you here, whereas I think we've got that balance right, where it's about, let's make sure your margins are right, let's make sure that you've got a good life balance, that you're not abandoning your family so that you can volunteer in the church, because I don't think that's right, and I don't think that's the heart of God either. But sometimes it does get weary. I think if we're honest this morning, sometimes it can get tiring. What do you guys do to refresh, recharge? This is just a question just for me so that I can help me out. What do you guys do to refresh, recharge? You've had a big Saturday night, Gareth, or you've had a big Sunday or big Friday night, Jordan. What do you guys do to just refresh and recharge?
I guess for me, like, when I go to school and all that, you get tired, and Friday nights you're just like, I want a nap, I just want to sleep. But seeing teenagers happy and your thoughts of like, oh, I get to come and they're excited to be there and you get to see everyone you love, like, it's that mental recharge of just, I can do something and I can do it for God. And, that love for volunteering and doing Teen Crew comes back because you realise that, I actually just want to be there. So
your recharge from school is to volunteer. Is that right? Have I heard that right, Jordan?
Kind of. It's the thought that I get to be there with the teenagers and have fun and all that.
Yeah, love it. Love that young heart.
Learning to say no, because I was brought up that you didn't get to say no.
Right.
So you just pushed and pushed and pushed, and then you burnt out, and then you had to push some more.
Yeah.
So learning to say no and realise that someone else would actually step up and fill that gap.
Yeah.
Because you were kind of made to believe that you were irreplaceable.
Right. Yeah.
And you're not.
Yeah.
Rude shock there.
Yeah.
But you're really not. And if you're not able to, you can step back. And this year I have stepped back from kids and I've really missed it and it's really hurt and I really struggled with that decision to step back from volunteering and kids.
Yeah.
But guess what? Kids' church is going just fine without me.
Yeah.
So for me, I had to learn to say no and take that time to refresh and realise that God's way bigger and he's got his plan and he can do it with or without me in this particular season.
Yeah. Yeah. Love that.
For me, recharging is probably more about being myself. So as a volunteer, being you is a whole part of it. So being able to, I would go out and do some adventuring and that sort of thing out in the bush, just to relax and de-stress, not think about anything.
Yeah.
And just kind of, relax. And then it gives you stories while you're out volunteering, helping people, talking to people.
It's a connection point, yeah.
It's a connection point. So it's a really good way to just slum.
Yeah. Love it.
And we just, I suppose it's great.
Awesome, mate.
Realise that life is long and appreciate that, and that you'll go through seasons and there will be times when actually it's harder to contribute as much as you'd like, and then there's times at another point in life where it will be a lot easier to give a lot more than you can. So it's acknowledging the season that you're in, accepting your limitations, trying to be mindful of having space to not be overwhelmed, but to have time to, sit out in the garden and have a cup of tea or go for a walk or do things like that refresh you. But like Liz said, it's a learning curve too. Like for a few years, it's taken me to learn to say, actually, I can't do all of these things. And some people can, but I can't. And I have to be the best person I can in the season of my life and still contribute. You've got to make some changes at some times in your life. And, I think that's okay.
Yeah, 100%.
I just wanted to add, I remember when we actually first came here, very soon after we actually had a new person's lunch. And I remember being so impressed with Pastor Brendan because he came in and he said, look, I don't want you guys to be throwing your hand up to volunteer straight away. That's not what this is about. Just connect into the church, enjoy being here. And then from that, when you feel ready, you can sort of, we've got different people come and talk to Kerry, etc., and we can see where to put you. And that just really, it really impacted me. I just was like, this guy cares about me and my family. And it's not about, like you said, the pressure of perform church needs you, we need you to volunteer. And it was like that reverse psychology. I was like, oh, I want to volunteer. You know what I mean? And I know that's not why we do it.
Yeah.
But
that's exactly why we do it, was reverse psychology.
But you know what I mean, though? It was just like, you love me, and there's no expectation to perform, and I was just like, I love that, and that was so motivating for me. It was refreshing, and And then I just want to give like the biggest plug. Like all of the pastors are amazing, but Kerry, like I just take my hat off to this woman. The ability to juggle all of us and all of the things that Kerry, I can't do that. Oh, Kerry, I forgot to do that.
Usually the complaints are around the vocam videos, I find. Raise your hand if you've ever done a vocam video. Yeah, we'll pray for you after.
I think, like if you are here and you're not volunteering yet, but you're thinking about it, just like I have to give a plug because, we have like a services app and you can put in block out dates and things that, those times that like are really actually can't do that day. I won't be here or whatever. And Kerry's magnificent and we'll schedule around that. And, even Adam, there's been times I've woken up, I've got sick kids, Adam, I'm rostered on. And, he's a busy dad and works a job and a husband and that's cool, Lise, we'll find someone else. And it's nice to know that you're, actually replaceable because life happens.
Yeah.
If you're thinking of volunteering and think, oh, it's a big commitment or whatever, yes, it is, but you get to, and we have a great team.
Love it. Jeff, finish us off. What do you do to recharge other than play with green blocks?
For me, the volunteering is the recharge.
Yeah.
Busy work life. One day last week I pulled an 18-hour day. So it's long days. Sometimes it's hard, but the refreshing of coming and it's part of our worship.
Yep.
Wherever it is you're volunteering, and it's that I don't think you can really separate the fact that what we're doing for God, with our church family is a big part of our worship process. It's a big part of how we, interact with Him.
Yeah.
And so for me, that is the recharge.
Yeah.
And, I can't remember ever seeing it as something that, is a burden.
Yeah.
It's, love doing it, and, You'll have to be pushing me out in a wheelchair one day.
Yeah, very cool. Can we give these guys a huge round of applause? Thanks, guys. You can grab your seat. We only had 6 up there, but they represent a whole group of us, a whole group of people across this whole organisation, not just the church, that just serve with such an amazing heart. And I love where we started, where it's about we're blessed to be a blessing, and we've been given much. And so, because we've been given much, I want to, I guess, repay the favour. I want to serve back. And so, I would encourage you exactly what Lisa said. That if you're here today and you're thinking, I've been in this church for a little while, or I haven't been here for long, I would encourage you. One of the best ways that you can get connected, one of the best ways that you can find that belonging, what Pastor Kerry was talking about in church, in communion, is to volunteer. There's this old proverb that says, many hands make light work. We wholly and solely believe that God has an amazing plan for this church and our future. And He's looking to the people, not to the building, not to the programs. He's looking to the people to outwork that plan and purpose that He has for this church. And it's not about, we just want you to get you to do a task. I believe that spiritual maturity and growing in God, one of the quickest ways that you can grow is by serving. One of the quickest ways that you can accelerate your faith journey is by serving. I wholly believe that. It's amazing when someone takes a step and says, you know what, it's not about me and what I can get, it's what I can bring to other people's lives. And so we're so thankful for all our volunteers right across the Civic group. But if you're here today and you're thinking, you know what, I wonder if there's a place for me, there is a place for you, and we'd love to see you join a team. Come on, why don't we stand up this morning? Team's going to finish in a final song, but why don't we pray? Why don't we thank God for our volunteers? Heavenly Father, God, we do thank you for amazing hearts. Hearts that just want to serve, hearts that just want to be your hands and feet, hearts that just want to safeguard and serve not only our church community, but our broader community. God, we believe that your people is plan A to see a lost world come home. God, I pray for people here that perhaps they're weary or they're tired. God, I pray that you would put people around them to encourage them, God, but then you would also bring them a sense of resurgence. God, that through your Holy Spirit, God, that our eyes would not be always about us and we would not have a selfish, insular mentality, God, but that we would constantly look out to others. For there we find the joy and the privilege in serving other one's worlds. God, that we could be a link in the chain in someone's journey. God, I know that you look at Civic Church and you're just so proud. You look at Civic Group and you're just so proud. We're your people, God. We love to serve you. We love to represent you. We love to be your light. May people see us, then see you. May they see you in us, wherever we serve. In all the spaces and the places, God, may they see you. May they see and hear your heart, that you love and care for the world. In Jesus' name, amen. Amen. Hope you've had a great day in church. Remember, we've got Krispy Kreme donuts for everyone out in the foyer. Why don't you stick around, grab a coffee, and we'll see you next week in church.